reviewed, it's voted on, it's passed, it's then published. 30 days later, 30 days from the publishing date, not the passage date, it becomes effective. That 30-day window is to give citizens the opportunity to refer the matter. Some of you are familiar with that process than others. The other system adds an additional reading. While that seems like a good idea for towns of your size, that's pretty prohibitive to make any changes. It usually results in one reading happening, and then changes are made in between the first and second reading. There's a lot of misunderstanding about whether that second reading then actually has to become a first reading again. And in fact, it does. The first reading is actually required between the first and the second. There really are no substantive changes. So anything that is going to change essentially the way the ordinance is read actually makes the process start all over. So each time you make a change, down here you meet bi-monthly, so it essentially sets it back a month. In addition to the month that's provided for the referendum. So for you guys who really do only meet bi-monthly and don't have the liberty of waiting necessarily all the time to address them, a 2-month waiting period is really prohibited. The other thing that I would keep in the back of your mind has to do with your public hearings. Right now, your public hearing requires a 15-day meeting period. So when you throw that in the mix, it actually turns your 2-month time between the first reading and when your ordinance is actually effective. Sometimes it adds an extra 15 or even all the way up to 30 days, depending on when the meeting is. Get the public notice out to hold the hearing. So this doesn't trump that because you can't change that provision of the code, which requires the 15-day notice before a public hearing. But I would anticipate that there needs to be some reconciliation between whatever you decide to do with your ordinance adoption and what you decide to do with your public hearing ordinance. And the last thing I would note is that anything that you guys decide to do, or not decide here, but anything that you are leaning toward doing during the workshop, I would also note that anything that we do has to comply with the state law. So if they require 15 days of notice, and you guys decide that you're just going to post, you're not going to require 15 days of notice, you still have to, for that particular ordinance or that particular issue, be it an annexation or zoning change, something of that effect, you still have to comply with the state statute. This really would be in place absent a conflicting state statute, in which case, if it was a longer time period, we'd have to comply with the state.
Matt, you have explained this to me a dozen times. Explain it one more time. All right, so this is going to be doing ordinances. And we got ordinances, you got resolutions, there's 3 things. What's the third?
So, well, so
put it, give me the hierarchy one more time.
okay, so you have state law, well, you have federal law, which we really think we don't have to deal with a whole lot. And you have, underneath that, you have your state law, and that comes from the law that they're codified in statute. So state law comes from the state statute. Your local law comes from your town code. The town code is changed by changing ordinances. So right now you're trying, this would propose to change section 2-33 of your town code. After that, working toward the bottom of, I guess, the pecking order, for lack of a better word, is resolution. And a lot of times resolution really can be associated mostly with essentially making a motion. It's just most times you can do it by motion. You can do it verbally. It's just really nice to say, oh, this is what they did, rather than, I think they said this. So, you know, when we're gonna adopt IGAs or any contracts, things like that, a lot of times if it's a complicated contract with lengthy or something that we want to make sure that we'll be able to refer back to deal with the resolution, so it's associated with both ways, both by contract and resolution. So this is going to change the town code. As an ordinance that would change the town code. You know, your speed limits in town are set by ordinance. The number of dogs you can have at a house is set by an ordinance. And the fact that you guys have to read things twice, proposed ordinances twice before really adopting it is done by ordinance. So to change that, we put an ordinance in.
So one of the things that we want to do is get rid of, there's a lot of antiquated language in our town code. So this is what's going to help is in the rewriting of that, speed things up and.
Yeah. The flip side of that is if you don't change this and you continue with the dual reading system, in order to avoid that 2-month waiting period, and you're going to have agendas that have a bunch of ordinances on them, and want to address them, then you would. Here's the public, you know, here's the first reading, this is what we think, we're going to publish it, and then, you know, there's one major misunderstanding or just assumption that it's not quite right, and that's the single reading system really doesn't do anything less for the people. That 30-day period from the time the ordinance is published in the newspaper until the time that you can actually enforce it is across the board, statewide, and that's put in that state. So anything we do won't affect that. So let's say, for like a better example, let's say right now everyone knows the speed limit, or I hope they know the speed limit in town is 25. So tonight, let's say that you've already read it once. Tonight you're reading the second reading for to change that to 24 miles an hour, from 25 to 24. You pass it, adopted here. Let's say Mary gets it published on Thursday. 30 days from Thursday, Tim can go out and cite something. 29 days? No. 31? Yeah. If within that 30-day period, someone's out there says, you know, I really don't think that that's right. I disagree with it. I think 25 is much easier. There's ways to change it or whatever. Whatever the reason is, they go out, they can refer the matter, submit a petition, make sure that the form's correct with the town clerk, go out, circulate it. Once it comes back with the correct number of signatures, it's certified as a sufficient petition. And that essentially kills the time clock. And it just says, all right, time out. So once that happens, even if we go past this 30 days, the speed limit stays at 25 out there. Because the only way, once a sufficient petition comes in for that law to actually get it implemented and passed, is to actually have a special election, or coordinate it, hopefully, coordinate it so it doesn't cost the town a ton of a regular election. And you put that to the vote of the people. So the only way that change from 25 to 24 is ever going to come into effect is if you actually have a vote of the people, and the majority of them vote for it. So people that are saying, well, we want 2 reading systems because we want 2 swings at the bat. Well, it's really not necessarily, you know, they'd have to change your mind in between. And the dual reading system, even a minor change, so changing it to, okay, we think reducing the speed limit is a good idea, but we actually want to change it to 23. Proposed ordinance from 24 to change it from 24 to 23 starts all over, which means you got to find 15 days before you can hold your public hearing. Then you got to hold your first reading. You've got to wait 2 weeks, because that's your time, so now you're at 29 days before your second reading. And then you've got to wait another 30 days after the publication, which really ends up being 32, 33 by the time that slows everything down. It makes it so that you can't update your code, which, as we've seen, hasn't been updated in a significant period of time. And of course, this doesn't affect emergency ordinances, which can be passed just like every other ordinance in a single reading system on one reading, and doesn't require the same notice and that because of the idea that it's an emergency. So, kind of setting that aside, setting that need to prepare for something. This is still a system that, you still have your notice before the meeting of something that's proposed, and the citizens still have 30 days from the date that it's put in the paper to know what changes are happening and coming. And the last thing is, if that during that 30-day period, a sufficient petition comes in before you have to set a special election, action comes back to the board, you guys can say, oh, you know what, that is a good point. We're actually going to rescind this, which, sometimes towns will rescind it, hold another workshop, get more input, and then start the process over so that you can kind of meet with the people that are on the committee or want the changes and see what they think about that, put it out to the public again, and start over. So the safeguards there are both sides, but it really prevents the board from being hamstrung and setting things out 2 and 3 months before you want to change, before you're able to change something.
On number 2, right down here, is there any, when you have our the ordinance right now, is there anything that's being changed right there in number 2 by title? We can read the title only now or not?
That's so. The reading by title only actually stems from a attempt to save municipalities money in publication costs. So a long time ago, you had to read the ordinance, publish the ordinance in full, you had to read it in full in meeting. Then the legislature said that's really hard on some smaller municipalities. We're going to say that, board, you want to change it so that you just have to read the title only. So in this case, an ordinance amending section 2-33, that bold section, bold and cap section at the top, that's the title. If you want to just publish that paper, that publication, which, depending on, this is a rather short one, but some of these, model traffic codes are a couple hundred pages long. So the idea was to say, but if you're going to do something like that, you can actually put it to vote ahead of time, and the people can say, yeah, that's okay with us. We'll go ahead and allow you guys to publish by title only. So the reading by title only kind of stems from that. We want you to get the information, but we also know that meetings go late enough, and we don't want to read a 300-page document. So we're going to put it out there, put it on the town's website. My understanding is hopefully soon someone that is an employee of the town will kind of be doing that, so we'll have more control over exactly how quickly that stuff gets up there and gets out to the people that review. And that's something too that, if the board feels like it hasn't been out there for long enough, they haven't had a chance to read it, and they really don't want to read the whole document there, this allows you to say, look, this is the ordinance we're looking at. It's a couple hundred pages. This is when we're going to look at it. We're not going to read through this and waste our board meeting time reading a 300-page document. We're going to discuss it and we'll highlight changes we're going to make. We're just going to let you know about the time.
There's a key word here, so cases where the copies of the ordinance were made available to the public prior to the meeting. And so this has to be presented to the public prior to our board meeting, right?
Yeah, so if, let's say, because I'll admit that typically the town clerk's waiting on the attorney to get her something before the meeting. So the last minute additions to packets are typically from attorneys. Every now and then it's someone else, but pretty consistently. So despite the board's best efforts, sometimes it's not available. And typically those are shorter ones. The model traffic codes, things like that are mostly there, so they're ready to go. But things like this, if the board felt like, yeah, we did make it available, we didn't make it available enough, or we really didn't have anything available until they showed up here. So we're gonna go ahead and read the whole thing. It's only a couple pages, it's gonna take a couple minutes. So it kind of covers you both ways. If it's something where you got it earlier, even if it's short, you don't have to read the whole thing, especially if it's long. Helpful.
Remember, guys, you gotta understand who's talking. I know that Cameron commented on this today, and I saw your comments today on Facebook, so. One of the things that you said that the word may in number 3, your suggestion, Cameron, was to change that word may to shall.
Yeah, I could talk about that for a minute if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, I think what Mr. Crowder said, I really thought that was eloquent when you said reconciliation process, which is a safeguard. We all have that, it will still be available. But I think there's a difference between safeguards and best practice. And I would hope that you guys, ordinances should be kind of hard, they're usually big deals a lot of the time. And I would hope you guys would want to hear from people before you do something like an ordinance, and not wait for referenda to get input in the first place. I actually don't know that I saw anywhere where public hearings are required today. There's a dual reading system where you have 2 meetings, but I actually couldn't find anything in the code. I know the practice has been to hold hearings at each, but I couldn't find code for that. That's kind of neither here nor there. I think in exchange, what happens in the dual reading system, you give a reading, people hear about it, they might come, and they might come to the second hearing and say something about it. And I applaud the streamlining. I think a one reading system or one hearing system, I think is fine. But in exchange for losing that input between 2 readings, I would say you should mandate a hearing instead of making it optional. I think if you are planning to do that anyway, like you have been for years and years and years, well, why not have it in the code?
And just to, you're not saying it's separately.
No, I think
Public hearing.
let me describe it. I personally have no problem with you post the public hearing according to public hearing rules. You say an ordinance is going to be considered. You either publish the ordinance or read it in full, and you open a public hearing for comment. You discuss it and pass it same night. I think that would be fine. I don't want to see the hearing part of that optional.
So according to this, Matt, is the hearing part optional?
So, municipal attorneys typically don't try to hamstring their board and say you have to do this, say that you may. Caveat is usually, really, it's kind of like the board has the authority to actually kick out unruly people from meetings. But best practice, probably not the best thing to do. So it's one of those things, okay, what can we do, what should we do? So drafting this, I try to err on the side of saying, look, let's not box the board in, because, as we know, what happens, and I think part of it's the public hearing thing right now, is hopefully can get taken care of. And again, absent annexations, things like that, the state's gonna require public hearing here, notice being sent out, public hearing, letters, things like that, those requirements. Setting that aside, that will obviously help. This is, looking at ordinances that are going to change. Right now, you've got to do that. You've got to put your public hearing 15 days. So if this is in effect, and you're saying, okay, we've got to have a public hearing, and you want to have this, you want to review this at this date, you've got to go back 15 days to really post a public hearing unless you have a public meeting to direct your staff to post that public hearing. So now, the day before is your meetings are 14 days apart. So the day before your meeting, post for a public hearing before this meeting. So now you go backwards. Now you're first meeting where you say, okay, yeah, so we want you to post this ordinance for a public hearing. Well, you've now missed this next meeting, so you can't do anything at that meeting because you need 15 days before your public hearing. So now you're already 30 days back before your next meeting where you can do it. So right now, changing that back to require the public hearing, really, I mean, you can't take public, I mean, I guess you could take public comment on here, but if the public comment resulted in a change, because you'd still be under the reading, you know, you've just published this for a public hearing, you made a change to the ordinance, you're gonna start all over.
So that's not how I read this. I mean, this says it can be approved with or without amendments.
Under this system.
Right, and I have no problem with that.
But
And I think if you use the, like, you don't even have to have the ordinance finalized 15 days ahead, as long as you've got the title.
It's my understanding though that the voters haven't approved the publication by title only.
Okay.
So that's.
Does it have to happen on an ordinance by ordinance basis, or is that one day?
That's uniform. So,
Okay.
so the ballot question would be,
Okay.
can we post, or, you know, citizens of Green Mountain Falls okay with posting ordinances in the future without type action? So there's kind of, you know, there's a lot of wheels moving here.
Right.
And I think that I can't see, frankly, I can't see anything that this board would say, we're gonna adopt this ordinance, we don't wanna hear anything. We don't wanna hear what you guys.
Well,
That certainly hasn't been in that practice.
And that's-
Plenty of examples.
it's not the practice, but it's not a door I would want to open, and that's my caution. I mean, a hypothetical I came up with this draft would be at the beginning of a regular meeting, a trustee makes a motion to amend the agenda to adopt an ordinance, passes, introduces the ordinance, no public hearing is opened, passes the ordinance, and now you're into the referenda safeguard as the first opportunity for the public to even know that it was on the agenda. That's something I'd rather not even have an option for a board to take that route, that hypothetical. So that's why I would, yeah, it's a pain. Sorry. It's important stuff.
I think it's good.
Just to be clear, number 3 is for public comment, not, I think you're talking section 5,
I'm talking section 3, I would like to see it require
Section.
public comment.
shall have a public comment in a public hearing, properly noticed.
I think
As
what
well as
what you guys were discussing is more number 5, right?
He's talking about the way to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that's not it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe, like, if it's, someone introduces it, like what Cameron said, then there's public comment, we hear, and then we could put it on the agenda the next time as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the board can do that. So,
If it's,
So,
it's just,
If somebody
again, it's
introduced
the
it-
difference between being required to do something and saying the board can't do something. And that's what he's saying is, you know, under this, yeah, you could comply with your code by saying, yeah, we're gonna introduce this, we're gonna pass it, we're going here in public comment, and if you don't like it, you can refer it.
right now,
Yes.
Under
No, you can
this.
propose under this. And he's saying, well, you know, why not just require it? Because it's probably unlikely that the board would do that, why not just prevent them from doing that?
and we can do that with having still one reading system. correct?
Yeah, he's not, I don't,
We would just require.
correct me if I'm wrong,
Public
I don't think we're suggesting that a public hearing, you know, it's just a line for public.
well,
comment.
there's already laws about notice requirements for public hearings.
Well, no, so what I'm saying is, you're not reading number 3 to deal with a public hearing, you're reading number 3 to deal with a public comment time. And let me make sure that the distinction's there. The public hearing is actually noticed in the paper for a date and time certain. Comment time is the time that comes after the agenda item has been introduced, has been called by the mayor, and the mayor has actually turned over and said, okay, I want to hear from the public.
I'd like to see a public hearing, to avoid the hypothetical where someone could introduce and adopt an ordinance in a single night through an amended agenda.
Well,
That
and
couldn't
that's-
happen with the public hearing requirement, it could happen with public comment.
And so that's what I'm saying, is so trustee A brings in this ordinance tonight, says here it is. You can't do anything with that if you're requiring a public hearing, that's what I'm saying.
Correct. I'd
So
rather,
you actually, that comes into where now we're going to Thursday, which you can publish it 2 weeks from Thursday, which means you missed this meeting. Then you start here, and then you go.
yeah, if you don't plan in advance, it's a pain.
Well, yeah, and that's,
Sorry.
well, and that's one of the things is, there's not necessarily, the code changes, that we've highlighted and found and suggested to be changed. You know, some of those come up, but there are times when, like, again, it goes back to, do you want to hamstring the board so that we can have, you know, the budget issue again, which is, yeah, we need to hold a public budget issue, a public budget hearing, but we don't have 15 days to post this. 15 days to put
Well, I
this,
think
to
you would
publish
vote
this
the
hearing.
emergency permit, even though it's still available.
Well, excuse me.
The hearing for the budget is the Colorado law. So there will always be a hearing for the budget issue. It is documented that a hearing is needed.
It's not whether we did a hearing, it's the town code provision that requires the timeline for the public hearing. The notice timeline appears in the Green Mountain Falls Town Code, not whether we can hold not whether we have to hold the, budget public hearing. It's the time before we hold the budget public hearing that goes to where it says you gotta do it 15 days in advance. That doesn't appear in the state statute that requires the public hearing. So if I misspoke, I'm not trying to say that.
Well, it reads, this section shall be published one time in the newspaper having a general circulation in the local government.
So under that language,
Yes,
under that language, and absent this town's 15-day time period, the board could direct the clerk to publish the notice of the public hearing in a paper on Thursday, and 24 hours later, you can hold the hearing. So that's what I'm saying, is that 15-day hamstring that pushed out the budget hearing appears in the town code.
Right.
So not in there.
yes, no, just that it had to be published, and then it refers
So let
back
me-
to.
Well,
let me
all
just-
public hearings have to be published.
Right.
That's the,
But I'm saying it's part of the budget law, and
yeah, I understand what you're saying, that appears in there. I understand that the fact that we have to hold that appears in there. The plan it out and go back 15 days is only a local law.
I know, that's what I'm saying too.
That's what we
Yes.
need to take a look at.
Right.
Okay.
So
But isn't
let me just sum up real quick.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think ordinances are kind of a big deal usually, and they should be. And I don't think it's a problem to make them a little bit of a pain, particularly if you plan on following that process all the time anyway, make yourself follow that process. That was, and I still think even with my proposed, requirement, light years ahead of where you are today with Section 232.
I would agree with Cameron and also add that when you pass an ordinance, you're changing or amending or adding a law. So the public should have plenty of prior knowledge about what's gonna happen, because a change in the law is a change in the resident's lifestyle. They've been doing something a particular way for lo these many years, and you decide that you wanna change it, it's really incumbent on you guys to make sure that the public understands exactly what's going to change. And having a public hearing on that is exactly the venue for that. So to eliminate the public hearing, I think, is a disservice to the community. And as many hearings as it needs to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the law that's gonna be applied, then that shouldn't be a problem. I don't have a problem with one reading. But if something comes up in the hearing that nobody thought of, and all of a sudden makes that law a huge mistake, or makes an issue that needs to be reconsidered, then it doesn't hurt to go back to school. Because the law is gonna be there forever. Changing the laws like taxes. Once they're there, they don't go away. Until somebody 30 or 40 years later, like the way that, like this ordinance you're proposing to amend. This was written, I can't tell you, way before I got here. So somebody in the town council, back whenever they adopted this ordinance, decided that it was prudent for the board to make sure that the townspeople knew what was gonna happen to them before they made it happen. And that's real important.
So if we had the ordinance, we allowed for public comment, the board can we can decide to change what is written in that ordinance, right then.
Not under the current law.
No.
Under the current law,
the new-
start over.
The new law, though,
Even under the new one, you wouldn't be able to.
you wouldn't be
You
able
can
to change
change
it.
that new one, you'd be able to.
You would
So-
be able to change it.
I mean, it sounds to me like I can, if we want to kind of fast track this, we're going to start a board meeting. It sounds to me like the citizens still want the public hearing thing.
Right.
The frustration in the public hearing, and let me preface this with, yes, I drafted this. Do I think it's perfect? No. That's why I said, if you want to get comments, just hold a workshop so they come in and say, this is what we do. Then they don't have to go out and refer the matter around and circulate a petition. This frankly is how it should work. When the citizens are upset about something, they should say, rather than going out and referring the matter and doing that so that we can waste a bunch of time, frankly, with staff that is already overworked and money. That's what should happen. It should be a dialogue that goes back and forth and something like that. So it wasn't perfect. I do see a solution that would probably make it so citizens felt like, yeah, we're gonna get our chance to, we're gonna have our guarantee to have our chance before they pass it or before they vote on it. And to change it so that it does read where after the reading of the ordinance, the board shall hold a hearing, shall hold a public hearing, followed by board discussion. And then the ordinance may be approved with or without amendments, or rejected by a vote of the board. So that provides for, okay, it might change based on comments in here, and really get it to where you're not so concerned about changing it, so that you can have that dialogue back and forth. And that's to change your public hearing deadline. And again, I would calculate in kind of way, number 5's written, which says, absent conflicting state law or federal law, but we really don't even address that because it really doesn't come up usually. Public notice before a public hearing, of a date and time certain, will be made in a newspaper of general circulation within the municipality's boundaries, or at least 24 hours prior to the holding of the public hearing. The question that begs then is, what do you do when you publish ordinance A, let's say ordinance A, on Thursday, and then obviously 24 hours, and then the next meeting is Tuesday. So again, you've had that 2 meetings because you've got to have the first meeting for the board to tell the clerk to post it, so it gets posted. But we can actually address it at the next meeting. We can hold the public meeting. But what do you do when ordinance A gets posted and says, may hold a hearing, and then we have this public comment that results in an ordinance that says shall hold a hearing? I see the frustration from citizens that say, well, I didn't go to the meeting, but now all of a sudden, I didn't have an opinion on it saying may, so I didn't come to the public hearing. And now it says shall when it's been posted and the 30 days time limit's running. So, that might be somewhere kind of in the middle that would provide the board the opportunity to make changes to it, as long as the citizens understood that the first publishing of the ordinance might not be the final version.
Yeah, that's not a concern of mine.
So-
If you posted a public hearing and said, and I knew that the law said that you could change it during the discussion, I'd make sure I showed up for the public hearing.
It sure shouldn't be a requirement, Matt. You just said it, nothing's perfect. So, there are things in every ordinance that after considering it for 3 or 4 or 6 months or 2 years, that clause really shouldn't have been in there. And now you have to dance around and amend that. So now you started the process all over again for 1 paragraph or 1 sentence. So
half the process.
Understand, it has to happen. But the more careful you are about drafting it and in public comment in your public hearing makes a whole lot more sense. And to be honest with you, 24 hours notice is lousy. The idea of proposing an ordinance 24 hours before it's first read, my personal opinion is that's absurd. That's a disservice. That's a disservice to the community. If they don't have some prior knowledge of what's going on, then you're going to have a lot of referendums.
It's what the state requires. So before you kind of jump down my throat about saying 24 hours.
Well, but you're talking about.
It's what the state requires.
Right.
And that's what all of the municipalities default to. So it's not like I said, oh, really make it so that these guys don't have that. They don't have to notice. I'm going to pick 24 hours. It's not like that. It's in the open meetings records, open meetings law.
I understand.
And absent really large changes to codes such as rezonings, annexations, and other property rights.
I understand.
Trigger federal law.
I understand.
24 hours is all you get at the state level. So if you get a law, and absent the dual reading system, you get a law that is Colorado, it's going to affect everybody in Colorado. There are a lot of times when they don't have to give you 24 hours to go to Denver and complain about it.
Matt, they pass laws every day that they don't ask me about. I understand that.
I would imagine there's a few you might be mad about it.
True, but the requirements from the state statutes is the minimum standard. And we have an
I don't want to
opportunity to
get
make.
things forward. That's my point, is we're here.
Well, you know what,
under
the
the
board's
system that already can't
job is to watch out for the community and make sure that they get things done the way they want them done. If you can pass ordinances in ways. But if every time you pass an ordinance, you end up with a referendum, then you're gonna spend all the town's time and money on special elections.
So the final way to actually fix that entire situation is actually then when you host your election, not in 2015, but in 2016, is to actually put the title on, because the title likely won't change. So, if the board's saying, we're kind of leaning toward doing shall hold a hearing, you're looking until 2016 before it's actually to where I would say going to be running more smoothly, and you won't have this confusion between, well, that's not what was posted in the paper, and that's what I'm requiring. So,
Dick, I want to hear what you have to say real fast. What do you have to say?
Sorry, I'm late.
No.
Sure, do I have to stand in the corner?
No.
But the public hearing should be held before any ordinance is passed. I think you addressed that in number 3, where you made it part of the process, right, Matt?
Right.
In number 3?
well,
Did I hear you say, shall hold a public hearing?
no, that was proposal change language. So it reads, as it reads right now, it reads may hear public comment.
Well, what I heard from the audience was.
That's right.
check.
That's what,
Yeah, I read the proposed change language.
And then, because of that, you're able to strike number 5. Don't need.
Yeah, the reason number 5 in there is to say that, you know,
There is no reason for 5.
well, it is to say that, you know, for instance, and I'm not entirely positive, I do know there are times when you have to hold up, well, for instance, night runs, those go to the planning commission, and the commission holds a public hearing, then it goes back to the board, we hold a public hearing, and they get their license, so it essentially is kind of this catch-all provision that we like to put in there, so that when the state changes what you have to do, you don't have to go in and change every one of these that doesn't have that catch-all provision.
Now, the bugaboo that you brought up is requirement that you have 15 days posting on a public hearing. Maybe that could be modified and shortened.
Right.
That's not what I, yeah,
but that's a step, that's not part of this.
No, but
But that's,
there's
we'll
very,
need to look at that.
yeah, like I said, I mean, but
Yeah.
I think there's more than one gear in terms of.
Right.
Would changing that to 14 days, because our meetings are 14 or, improve that?
No, I don't want to point any fingers at anyone from the press here, but they don't publish based on when we say publish this today. So what usually happens is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it comes out on Thursday. It gets published in the paper Thursday. And usually there's some pleading with the town clerk to say, please put this in this paper, so you can do all your other stuff, that you have ready to go. So it's, the 24 hours, really, he said, look, we're gonna make sure we're gonna do it for 24 hours. That means if she misses the deadline on the Thursday's paper, it doesn't go until Friday's paper, and you're still not gonna meet till Tuesday, you know, you're still covered. It still makes it so that you haven't hamstrung yourself, and that's my goal. I mean, whether I'm being couched as saying that I don't want to hear from citizens and things like that, mostly I'm trying not to hamstring people, I'm trying to make it so that the things that you guys have asked us to pour through your code and say, this doesn't make sense, let's change this, that goes with less clerk time, because each one of those publications funds from the town, requires less funds from the town. It requires frankly less of your staff, both mine and yours. So.
Do you have something?
Yeah, because I'm getting more and more confused. If we were to change that to the 24 hours and say we talked about it on the first Tuesday of the month, and we went for publication and had it published coming that Thursday of the same week, is that possible?
We don't have.
We don't have to. Oh, so at least there's two publication, there's publication time within there. Oh, okay. To meet that, the only restrictor is the 15-day requirement.
Right now.
Okay. So it gets down to a matter of integrity about the fact of whether the board does or does not hold a public hearing to it. In which case, in most situations, I can't think of a situation where there would not be on an ordinance a public hearing. I mean, it would be a matter of real corruption, in my opinion. So I think it's a moot point on that, as long as we can get it within the defined 2-week period. It seems to me that there's more than adequate time to review, not just 24 hours. So again, it's the honor system, it's the integrity of the whole process. That seems to still work, and that you still have one reading. I do like the idea always of having, when you're dealing with an ordinance, of having a public hearing about it. Because I agree that it is changing law. And so I have no problem with that. It's a matter of schools then, and I think that every board, not just do this one, but ones in the future, will hold themselves to a higher agenda. I don't think we're going to Bob Skaggs anymore. And all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you're around on them because there's just too many checks on their face. So I like what you've written, even that somehow incorporating that we do have a public. And we're looking at 24-hour minimum. We still have the opportunity to, it's still longer than that. In every case, in my opinion. So I don't think that's an issue. So What I need to know though is from here, if we change the language of this, I mean, if it was to shall, what's our process from there, Matt? Do we have to go back?
You haven't even started the process.
We haven't even started the process.
No, and that's, I mean, that leads into, you know, it sounds like the board has some comments, sounds like, they can just choose to do what they'd like to do with this draft. The next step, the board would arrive at a draft they agree on, you need to say, okay, now publish that, and then start your 15-day waiting period. And then you'll read it. My suggestion is you send that perfect draft that you don't want to make any changes to, make a change after. You'll have to start all over. But if you know, if the board were to come to something they're not do it tonight, during the meeting, not during the workshop, during the meeting, they can direct the town clerk to publish it. Give 15 days from the date they got it in the paper, assuming that's Thursday. Then miss your second February meeting, so your first meeting in March, when you do your first reading, you do your second meeting in March, and be 30 days from the date of publication after adoption at the second.
Okay, so we're basically, any complete decision would be the first week of March. And then,
First time, yeah, you would be under the system starting in April.
Right.
Okay,
So,
Mayor,
yes, I want to be able to give the board.
I just have one sentence I want to
I-
make.
Okay, listen, please. I want to give the board a couple of minutes prior to going right into a meeting. So Gail and Jane, I want you both to speak, but please keep it like to 2 minutes.
I just have, in reference to, I just had one comment to make referred to the Colorado revised statute, and that's 3116-106. And this is an example, no ordinance, the title of this is reading before city council shall be adopted by any city council or any city unless the same has been previously introduced and read at a preceding regular session meeting of such city council and published in full in the manner provided in section blank at least 10 days before its adoption. So this is a sample
I've told the
of,
board numerous times that a lot of pretty one only applies to cities. You heard her say city council, city.
right, and well, for example, 102 says that, 102 refers to the style of the ordinance. Cities and towns shall be, quote, be it ordained council or board of trustees. So those terms are used interchangeably, and actually that's just a sample.
The nice is that since 1910, this doesn't apply, yeah, it's very specific, so.
Okay, thank you.
In the interest of time, I'm gonna say, I'll read the statutes and tell you what to say.
Okay, thank you. And Jane.
Thank you for holding a workshop on this, I do mean that. I would strongly encourage the board to consider having a public hearing, time for public comment. Referendums themselves are costly, not only costly for the town, they're very costly for the town and the townspeople emotionally. You set up a combative nature where I think a public hearing gives you a lot more time for open discussion and free discussion, and it makes it a lot less combative, and I would think that the board would encourage that sort of attitude.
I think we as a board would do that regardless whether we say may or shall, but it's a matter of what check and balance we want to put on ourselves. As far as it goes.
Well, and I think that they're doing here, there's been a lot more dialogue between citizens before in this workshop than in typical public hearings. So it sounds like if the board's really interested in people feeling like they can come in and really say whatever they want. And you don't have to notice and publish in the paper and cost the town, the time of the town, a workshop, whereas you do a public hearing.
Okay, guys, let's take a break for a little bit, just a 6-minute break before our meeting. And come back. Thank y'all very much for being here.
I'm supposed to be
You got witnesses.
You know. That's Mr. Slide. That's Mr. Slide.